Yo, 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 what is up, YouTube? And maybe Twitch, but no one really watches me on Twitch. But since it's kind of silly, I'd have to change how I log into Twitch or into Streamlabs. I log into Streamlabs with my Twitch account, and so I still have to, they make me stream to Twitch. I tried shutting it down last time because Twitch can go to heck and back, honestly, because they just they don't do anything for me. YouTube has been pretty good to me. So, oh, what are we working with here? Just gonna wait a minute and see if anybody hops in here. Okay, well, we're gonna start the recording for the video. All right, so I worked on three build options for this AMD build. I know that it's not going to be a high-end build at all. The whole idea came about from wanting to do a budget build around the 7600 when it comes out. But as we'll see here when we're going through this stuff, AM5 is not cheap. It's barely even mid-range, honestly. It's like, so we'll go through. Let's just go through this here. So I did three different build options, and I have totals without the GPU because we don't know exactly how much the 7600 is going to cost yet. But this is really interesting. So on Micro Center, I could go to Micro Center and get a 7700X with a B650P Pro motherboard, an MSI, and 32 gigs of 6000 megatransfer DDR5 for $450. Now, that's by no means budget, right? But, well, it depends on who you ask or what your budget is. I mean, I would say most people consider a budget build, like an entry level budget build. It used to be less than 500, but honestly, there's not. Ooh, I don't know that you can do it with all new parts under 500. Maybe if you like, you'd have to have like a leftover case and or power supply, RAM, something. You'd have to have bits. your friends would have to give you bits, or you'd have to have some left over. You couldn't start from scratch with $500. You just couldn't. I mean, almost, but not quite. So let's look at this on Micro Center. So they've got these Ryzen bundles, and this is the first one we're looking at here. So this is pretty nuts. I mean, this is the bulk of your system. So it's a 7700X. So that's an 8-core, 16-thread CPU. It boosts over 5 gigahertz. Yeah, 5.4 turbo speed. That's a heck of a CPU. The only thing really better than it for gaming anyway would be the 7800X3D. But that is, gosh, it's like, so this is $450 for this combo. I think the 7800X3D is just over $400 just by itself. But so this is a pretty good deal. I mean, and we could argue all day long about 5800X3D, 7800X3D. Yeah, they're probably, not probably, the 7800X3D is definitely better than the 7700X. And I'm pretty sure, it's been a while since I watched all these videos since this stuff came out. But I think the 5800X3D in gaming was actually better than all of the 7000 series Ryzen CPUs. So 5800X3D would be better than a 7700X for gaming. But what the 7700X would give you is some multitasking ability, do streaming like I'm doing right now, multitasking, production workloads, stuff like that. So by no means necessary for a gaming build. I did watch Steve's video again last night on Gamers Nexus when he reviewed this in the 7600X, and there's only about a 10% boost over the 7600X. But here's what's interesting. So this is the bulk of the system here. So we need a case, we need a power supply, we need memory or storage, and so. And I was considering this to be kind of a mid-tier, so I wasn't trying to save a bunch of money on the power supply, but I was trying to get something affordable because you can definitely spend closer to 200 and over 200 on a PSU. But the 750X, this ARM 750X Corsair is what I put in the ultimate budget build from earlier in the year, and it's just a really good unit. And if we're doing another budget build, we know we're not going to need an 850 1,000-watt PSU. The 750 will run up to a 4070 Ti. So we're good trying to run an RX 7600. And we could go smaller. But again, this is kind of a mid-tier of a budget, as opposed to strictly like entry level. I can only afford exactly $500 budget. This is probably going to be close to $1,000, but this is going to have you set up to do more than just gaming. But so that's why I went with this power supply. Also, there's not a lot of good deals on power supplies. There is one on Amazon I want to show a little bit later, though, that is $20 or $30 cheaper than this. That might be a good option for any of these builds. And then the Montech Sky 2, I'll bring that up in a minute here, but that's just a case that I've wanted to build in pretty much since I saw it. I'm trying to remember if it was Zach on, was it Zach I saw had it first? I've seen a couple of different people build in it, and I'm just like, oh man, that's really cool. No, actually, I saw it in Micro Center first. That's what happened. I saw it in Micro Center, and I saw the blue one. I really like the blue one. I remember stopping looking at it, and then I saw it. I think Zach did a build, or Zach had it on his one of his videos, and I think Danny did one too on Nerd on a Budget. And then Crucial P3. I've got all of my systems have Crucial P3s in them. Every single system in this house has Crucial P3s. Gen 4 is faster, Gen 5 faster still, but in terms of gaming and even doing the production work that I do, making these videos and stuff, it's more than fine. Would I save a minute or 30 seconds here or there, like encoding 4K video? Maybe. I think it'd be like 5 to 10, maybe 15 seconds on the length of videos that I do. So, Crucial P3 right now you can get a 4 terabyte one for $200. So it's pretty crazy. So a 1 terabyte is only $46. So that's enough to get us started with this one. And then the Thermalright Peerless Assassin is pretty much the best bang for your buck air cooler on the market. It's $40 on Amazon right now. Hey, what's up, Death Wolf? Thanks for the sub, man. We're just working through this these options, if you will, for the AMD build. So the total with this, without the GPU, because again we don't know what this RX 7600 is going to come in at, is $756. So I don't, unless they got some in today. Yeah. But Newegg, I can spell this time. Yeah. So potentially, I think I'm going to build in this case. I really want to, since I've seen this thing. And so we might just put a different case in the budget list to say, hey, okay, look, you can save $30 or $40 if you choose a different case. But I will probably end up going with this one. There's another one we'll take a look at a little bit later. But this is the one. There's two that I'm leaning towards. This is the first one. I just like it. I really like this blue, but it's an extra $30, $40. Yeah, it goes from 100 to 140. That's wild. So 756. If we assume that the RX 7600 is going to be $300, and that pushes us over $1,000 to what, 1050, 1056. The pros of this build, it's a Wi-Fi motherboard. It's going to have a really cool murdered out look. Like if we get that specific combo from Micro Center, that MSI B650 is an all black board, and that RAM is all black. And then the Sky 2 we'd get in black. The Crucial P3 is black. The Peerless Assassin's black. It'd be a pretty cool little murdered out build. And then you have the you do have the RGB on the fans, so you could set a little bit of a color accent just with the fans in the case. Oh, let's see, Deathwolf here. AMD has nothing good for budget builds. AMD has nothing that compares to i3 12100 that you can get on Newegg for 60. Holy crap, is it down to 6750? I know that the 13100F dropped in price a lot. But yeah, I totally agree. There is no, well, I'll show you when we get to the third build. There is something of an option for a budget build with AMD, but only if you have a Micro Center near you. I toyed around with the idea of actually not doing an all AMD build because of that fact, and I still have the 13100F from the original budget build, so I thought, you know what, this time I could mix it up and I could get a B760 motherboard and just like do the same the Gigabyte DS3H like we have for the original build, and go DDR4. Or no, can we do? I'd have to double check. I think you can do DDR4 or DDR5 with that board, but it would be the cheapest option to go. But for this kind of mid-range build right now, if we did this 7700 and kind of said F it in terms of trying to keep it under a specific budget, which in my mind was like $1,000, Micro Center also has, let's go back here. So you could just get the 7700X with the RAM, and then we'd need to get a motherboard. So I like this ASRock Steel Legends board. I mean, I literally like pretty much just like the look of it. But it does have a good feature set. But this ups the price a good bit. But that's a pretty cool looking board. And that wouldn't give us the all black kind of murdered out look. But with that digital camo in there, it with the gray, I feel like it would just kind of offset, give some contrast to the rest of the black in the build, you know, and then maybe throw some white on the RGB on the fan lights. But I thought this would be pretty cool. It's another Wi-Fi board. It's got umpteen million. Look at all that connectivity. It's got the optical out for the audio. It's got the super fast, the 20 gigabit Type C port in the back, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 USB 3.2s, 3.1s. They're the 5 gigabit ones, and then there's the 10 gigabit one next to the Type C. And then 4 USB 2s. So, like, that's pretty wild. So, if we did all that, what did I say here? The price goes up to $887, but we have an X670E with lots of connectivity and an optical audio out. It has Gen 5 PCIe support for GPU and M.2, but that doesn't really matter. It just looks really cool. The thing with the Gen 5 stuff is that it's so far down the pipeline that the 50 series NVIDIA cards aren't going to have it. Maybe the 60 series, you know, in 4 or 5 years or whatever. So you're not really going to have an option to upgrade to a board that'll take that'll be able to utilize Gen 5 for kind of the life of this motherboard. And the same really goes for the Gen 5 NVMe drives. You know, I will never argue that they're not faster. I mean, the Gen 5 drives are dang near 3 times faster than the Gen 3 drives, but it just isn't, it just doesn't matter. Whether it's for gaming or encoding or what have you, the benchmarks that I've watched, that I've seen, it just doesn't have a meaningful impact on anything. Now, if they really get to cracking with this direct storage for games, then you could see it starting to become more of a factor. But again, the only one right now that even tried is Forspoken. And I don't think you can say that really had any advantage in that game at all. That was such a broken piece of a mess. So again, I put it on there because it is true. It does support Gen 5, both PCIe and the M.2, but it's kind of whatever. So that, I guess that's kind of 2 options, but this is what's floating around in my head here. But this did all come about because somebody said, oh, you should do an all AMD budget build. And so that's what got me looking down here. And now this is going to be the funny part. So build option 2, I said, let's do a budgetish, like as cheap as we can go, but still do the newest generation of parts. So that would be with a 7600X, which is a great gaming CPU. It's 6 cores, 12 threads. It's pretty fast. Oh, you know, we can just, let's look at this bundle here. So that's this one right here. So $238, and you get the CPU and the DDR5 memory. But the difference here, and you can do this all day long, or well, I do. Like I go, oh man, it's 240 to 320. 60, it's $80 more, but I get 32 gigs of RAM and I get 2 more cores. But, then it just snowballs and everything gets out of control. But the 7600 is a heck of a gaming CPU. And, 16 gigabytes of DDR5 is probably going to be more enough still for a while. And it keeps coming down in price. So you could always upgrade to 32 later on down the road. I wanted to see, yeah, this one boosts to 5.3 gigahertz still, so it's still a pretty fast CPU. So we're going to do that kit, and then Amazon has an Aorus B650M. Actually, a lot of these things are the same price, whether it's on Amazon or Newegg or even Micro Center. Micro Center just tends to beat people on their like specific specials. Or wait, I always get these numbers mixed up. B650. What did I say? B660? Yeah, this one. And this is one of the reasons why you can't really do a true budget build with AMD. The cheapest processor is going to be the 7600 non-X, and that's still like $220. And the B650s, I mean, let's see. I did Aorus here, but if we just look for B650s, and the M's, the micro ATX ones are always a little cheaper anyway. You've got the Tough that comes up for $213. The Gigabyte is $190. Okay, that's the non M. That's the full ATX size. Here's the B650M, $230. What? I thought I saw that last night for less than that. But sometimes these prices go all over the place. There is an ASRock for $155. That was, I think this one was a little bit more money last night when I looked at it. This MSI Mag B650M mortar, $220. $190 for the what is this? The Prime Asus. This Riptide is a nice board, but again, $190. I mean, I guess you could drop down to something like this. But what even do you get here? A620ME? I mean, it's $85, but you got no heat sinks on the VRM, no backplate, one PCIe slot. So like, okay, I didn't notice this when I was putting this list together, but I was going to do this at the end of the video, but I think we need to talk about it. Look, I've been there myself. I mean, I'm there still. I don't have like, I can't go outside of a budget myself. But if you're really strapped, really limited in how much you can spend, I've always been of the frame of mind that you should get something good for your money. And so with something like this, I just think, okay, yeah, it's only $85, but really, what does this get you? It's not much. I mean, it's really just bare bones. I mean, it would work. It would work. You could get that 7600X with the RAM for what, 238 plus 85. 323. But then, yeah, it's just not great. If I was going to spend $323, if I'm really stretching my money, I want to get something for it. And this is, I think, just going to kind of leave you wanting and feeling gypped. And you're going to have spent your hard-earned money and not have something that you can really like be proud of in a way. So I'm not suggesting that you like just throw the budget out the window, but look, I know this is supposed to be, we're talking about AMD builds, but look, if you've got $320 and that's it to spend on your motherboard and CPU combo, then you got to go Intel. I mean, look, if you can get $350, you can get a Gigabyte Z690 and a 12700K. I mean, that's got 8 P cores and 4 E cores. It boosts to just under. I have one. I'm trying to think now if it goes over. I think mine hits 4.9, 5 gigahertz. I don't think it goes to 5.1. But that's a heck of a combo for 350. They had other ones that were even cheaper in here, but if you're going to spend 320 on a 7600X, and I can't even remember what that thing was called. What is this thing? This A620M. I mean, would you rather have that or this? I mean, this has got it's 3 full-size PCIe slots. These other ones are probably, the bottom 2 are probably by 8. It does cut you down to 2 sticks of RAM, but who cares? Looks like it comes with a better audio codec. It's got a backplate. It's got Wi-Fi. I'm just saying. So this is why really the AMD stuff is not good for a budget build. It's just not. Now, mid-range to high end, yeah, absolutely. But if you're trying to get in as cheap as possible and use the newest generation stuff, it just doesn't quite work. So, and this is what I discovered here. So I kind of got off the path here, but so that 7600X CPU kit with the RAM, with the I picked the B650M, the Aorus Elite one. Let's go back to that. I want to show why I picked that one, because there isn't. This is where I got derailed, because there isn't a good mid-range or even lower end B650. Oh wait, I was looking at it on Amazon. Go back. So this one has a decent amount of connectivity for the price. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 USB 3.2, and then you've got the faster ones, 2 down here. Got the optical audio out, USB-C. Oh, there's another blue 3.2 there, and 4 USB 2.0s. It's got the Q Flash Plus button. I think this one even has the. No, it doesn't. I was thinking this one had the easy release button, which would be a little handy for someone like me who's constantly swapping out graphics cards out of some of these systems, but this one doesn't have it. Maybe that's only on the X670s. But yeah, it's got heat sinks on the VRM. It's got a backplate. It's got Wi-Fi. It's got more than 1 PCIe slot. It's got room for 2 M.2s. Now, realistically, this should be $120 in my mind. Because if I went last generation Gigabyte on the Intel side, I could get a B660. I could get a B660M, the DSR3H. Hey, why does it always do that? Why is this so much money? What is happening? These boards? Wow. Okay. I take it all back. These things were $109 when I built the first system. This is what's in. I'm actually using the system to stream right now. The with the 4070 and the 12600K in this motherboard with what do I have? 32 gigabytes of RAM now of DDR4, 3200 mega transfers, CL16. Oh wait, this is a bundle. What's in the bundle? What am I missing? Oh, here we go. I don't know what this one is. But that one is so much more money. But this is more expensive too. This used to be $109. Because the B670M Wait, what is the okay, so B660 is 12th gen Intel, right? Oh my god, I've got all my B series boards mixed up now in my head. That's awesome. At any rate, the current generation, oh, there it is, B760. So an Intel B760M is $130. So if you're doing this with on the Intel side, you can spend $130 here, and then a 12100F, like Deathwolf said. He said he's found them for, what did he say, $67.50? Maybe that's for a used one. New one, $100. And then we got the 13100F for the budget build because it was like, well, yeah, look, it's $110.99. That's what it was before. So, you know, it's $11 more than the 12100F. Does that matter? You know, yeah, I mean, $11 is probably is almost the difference between 16 and 32 gigabytes of RAM, and you're only getting like 4 or 5% improvement from the 12100F to the 13100F. The 13100F just boosts a little higher. It's like literally only 4, maybe 5% faster. So for $11, I'd probably just spend it. But like I was mentioning earlier, you know, if every single part you're like, you go up by $11 and all of a sudden the whole build is over 100, you know, it snowballs pretty fast. So, but you could do a 12100F for $100 and this motherboard for 130. So at 230, you can get 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM of good RAM for $40. So we're under $300 still with motherboard, RAM, and processor. Like, Intel is really the way to go if you want to go budget. So, yeah. And here's where the messed up part comes in. So, for this option number 2, we did the 7600X with the DDR5 combo from Micro Center, that gigabyte board that I showed you for 190, the same power supply, the Sky 2 case, this everything else the same, the Peerless Assassin, the Crucial P3. So look, total out GPU 734. Does that sound familiar? If it sounds familiar, it's because This one is 756. So dropping down to the 7600X only saves us $22. So what? That's definitely like, what is the point then? So I think of these two, why wouldn't you go with this one for 756? You get you get an 8-core processor with the 7700X. You get a good MSI B650, get a good Corsair power supply. If you don't like the Montech Sky 2, there's other cases for around $100 that you could use, or cheaper. The Crucial P3, you can get whatever drive you want. There's other cheap ones out there. I just like the Crucial. But you're not really I don't think you're gonna save that much. You might be able to get an inland for $40 or something, but and the Thermalright Peerless Assassin for $40. I mean, that's you're not gonna get a better. You might get a better looking one for more money, but you're not gonna get a better performing one. And a cheap AIO that would work for this CPU is $130, $140. Or bump it up to $887. So with these substitutions, well, really just that Steel Legends motherboard, we go up to $887. So now we're going to take a look at the true, where I said, okay, well, let's still keep it AMD, but let's go as absolutely cheap as I can. So build option 3, cheap AF. So again, and this only works if you have a Micro Center, because Micro Center has this bundle deal here. So you can get a 5600X, which is still a good CPU. It's not a 5800X 3D, and it's not, a 7000 series CPU, but oh gosh, it's even cheaper. What? Look, here it says it's $199.99, but when you click in here, it's $189.49. That's wild. So we get a 6-core, 12-thread CPU and a B450M with Wi-Fi for $190. That's a pretty good deal. That's better even than the Intel deal. And I would say that I would probably take the 5600X over the i3 now, just because we're starting to see, with some of the physics and some of the stuff that's going on in the games these days, some of the more CPU intensive games, you can play them with 4 cores, but the days of 4 cores being enough are they're waning. I think realistically, if you can swing a 6-core CPU, like, I don't think you need to go all the way up to 8 unless you're going for a super multitasking and production build. But 6 cores, yeah. So this isn't bad. 5600X with this motherboard for $190. What did I write on here? Yeah, I put 200, so we can shave $10 off of this. Team Force Vulcan 2x16 RAM, 3200 CL16, $61. Now you can do this. So I know this is supposed to be cheap AF, but I thought again, some of these newer AAA titles that are coming out, they're using up to 20 gigs of system RAM. Maybe why not just do 32? Because I mean, it's $25. It just depends how tight your budget is, how much you have to stick to it. But $25 for double the RAM, probably okay most of the time. And then I just learned about these power spec CPUs, PSUs. We'll take a look at them in a second here. This power spec 650 watt PSU, semi-modular. It's on Amazon. It's $76. The 5600X comes with a Wraith AMD cooler, which would probably be the first thing I'd upgrade if I went this route. But it'll work. It'll keep it under control well enough that you're not going to thermal throttle or anything. And then there's various cases for around $60. So let's go back to Amazon. So here. So power supplies right now, man, there are not a lot of deals. In fact, there's hardly any deals at all. Barely anything I would even call a deal. Um, they really haven't budged in price since January. Uh, and getting something quality under $100 is pretty sparse. All of those Thermaltake BM2s that all the content creators have been using the last few months, they're all gone. They all got bought up probably by flippers or something. Nobody has them anymore. Those were a decent option. But I did some research, and supposedly this power spec is a Micro Center brand that they put in their pre-builts. Now, I don't know if that's true. But this thing is pretty highly rated on Amazon. And so I thought, well, for $75.99 for a 750-watt power supply, okay. It's semi-modular, which I don't love. I've really grown accustomed to the fully modular power supplies, but this is saving what, $45 off of that Corsair power supply. So probably worth it to take a chance here if you're really stretching the budget and we're trying to go cheap like we are with this one. And then the cases I wanted to show you. So I guess let's do, actually here, let's go components, cases. So if we're looking at micro ATX cases, which I was, well, I guess I was looking more at what Micro Center had. Yeah, and now let's do micro ATX. So Micro Center, this is why I wanted to bring up Micro Center, because they still have, oh, maybe they sold them. Wow, that's crazy. They had them last night and now they're gone. Micro Center still had the ARGB 100 like we did with the other build. And for $60, that case just cannot be beat. You get 3 RGB fans. It's super easy to work in, super good airflow. Like, the thing is just nuts. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So Montec Air 100 ARGB for $59.99. They've even got an open box for $48, $47 and some change. Now, I love that case, but for when I do this build, I was thinking I should probably do something different. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, whether you're watching this live or watching it on the replay. Let me know what you think about some of this stuff. Which one of these options should I do, if any? How would you modify it if you want to modify something? Should I go with the same case? I mean, for $60, this thing is really a steal, because if I get rid of this, okay, so $50 to $75. So there is the Montec X3. So this is a mid tower, a full ATX mid tower case for $59.99. So it's the same price as the Air 100 ARGB, but it's bigger. And this has really good airflow as well. Like, this actually is a really good case. However, the one drawback for me versus the Air 100 is that these fans are Molex, which is kind of whatever. Like, they're just going to run at a fixed speed, and you could always swap them out. The Zalman S2 that my girlfriend built in came with Molex fans, and it worked fine. And then she just wanted to put some RGB ones in, so she bought a kit of the Corsair IQ ones and swapped them out. But the Molex ones ran fine. But it is something to think about. But I believe that this thing actually comes with these 6 fans. I think it's 3 140s. Yeah, 3 140s in the front, and then there's 2 120s up top and 1 120 in the rear. So Molex or not, you get 6 fans. And this case has a lot of airflow, it cools really well, and it's hinged like the Air 100 is. So maybe I would build in this. I could always do a follow-up video and we could upgrade the fans. We could throw in some I've been wanting to do Lee and Lee uni fans in my main rig, but maybe we could do uni fans in here. We could get two of the 3-packs. Yeah, that'd be pretty baller. Maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe I'll do that. So so the totaled out the GPU with that stuff. So even with that fan or that Montec X3, we are at 397. So if the RX 7600 comes in at $300, we're looking at $700. So that is way closer to the budget minded PC builder, I think. And with that setup, like, yeah, you're on AM4, but that gigabyte board is pretty decent. And you could always upgrade that 5600 to a 5800 X3D. I think you might have to flash the BIOS, do BIOS flashback to a more current version than what's on there, but I'd have to double check that. But that's kind of the max of that platform. And the 5800 X3D, like I said earlier, is better than all of the 7000 series Ryzen chips that aren't X3D. So the 5800 X3D is still, top 5 gaming CPU. So you could upgrade to that down the road. If you went with the 16 gigs of RAM, you could upgrade that to 32. Oh yeah, I said, but can we go cheaper? Do 16 gigs of RAM. There's a $60 Apivia power supply on Amazon. That's Apivia is one of those brands that's on like everybody's list of you should probably never buy. But I haven't seen a review on them on Reddit in several years. But the current reviews on Amazon are actually like not that bad. So if we went with a $60 PSU and 16 gigs of RAM, we knock it down another $40 down to $356. So, that's definitely budget-ish, but we're just not getting the newest of the new. And you can only duplicate this build if you have a Micro Center, so you can get that combo deal. Otherwise, the 5600X is like $140, and then the motherboard is like $120. So you're over $200, like $220, $230 when this is $190. So you can get it. So you can get it close-ish, but without the Micro Center deal, you start. I feel like if you start creeping closer and closer to one of these guys, you should just bump up to the AM5 platform. But it just kind of depends what budget you're working with. But I'd like to hear from you guys what you think. What do you want to see? What kind of content do you want to see? Do you want to see me cheap out and try and put an all AMD system together for the 7600 as cheap as I can, but still be halfway decent? Or should I go middle of the road here? If we went with option 1, which honestly I lean towards option 1 over option 2 just because the price is damn near the same. Even if we went with the X670, But we could do this option up here, and have a heck of a system in which, so that 7600 would be in there, and uh, it would be kind of, so you've got like a budget entry level GPU with a pretty kick butt system otherwise. So it just opens it up. I mean, this with this CPU and this power supply, I mean, like I said, we could go up to a 4070 Ti in it. That wouldn't be AMD anymore, but can we do, I'll have to, let's see, can we do a 7900 XTX? I think that needs more juice than 750. But that would be the perfect upgrade for that if we wanted to stay AMD. Let's look at this Sapphire. This is the one I like if I was going to get a 7900 XTX. Recommended power supply 800 watts. So maybe from that standpoint, if we went with this build option number 1, maybe we think ahead then and get a little bit better PSU, or maybe we just say, you know what? Maybe this is good. 7700X is 140 something watt TDP. I think that would be enough. I mean, that Corsair RM750X is a good power supply. I think it would handle it. The other option is, where'd it go? I wrote it down here. I had never heard of this before, but there's this Segotep brand. Did I find that on Amazon? Yeah, look at this thing. This is nuts. So the 750 watt is $90. So we'd come in $30 cheaper than that Corsair, right? And it's, what was that, around 70? We're like $13 more expensive than the that power spec. This thing is ATX 3.0. Do you see this down here? That is your 12 volt high power connection right there. So apparently these guys, Segotep, has been a pretty big company overseas, like in Asia. And they just don't have a good rep here, or well, they don't really have a rep here yet. But when you start researching, when you start reading into them, they're actually a very good company. They make very good stuff. So here's a 750 watt PCIe 5.0 ready ATX 3.0 for $90. I think I would probably, now that I'm thinking about it, if we threw that into build number 1, we would cut that $30 off of here. That would be part of the money to bump up to the X670. I think that's the way I'm starting to lean, guys. I think I'm starting to lean towards doing this 7700X, do this combo from Micro Center, and get that Segotep power supply. Do the Sky 2 case. Yeah, I think that might be the way to go. And then we'll still do the RX 7600. And we won't be bottlenecked by any means by a 7700X. And we'll see what this thing does in 1080p. And then down the road, and hopefully they get a little cheaper, maybe I can pick up a 7900 XTX and do the upgrade. Yep, I think that might be the way to go. But again, third time, you guys tell me. You tell me, should I do this kind of higher end build with the 7600, or should I really try and budget and see what we can do with the cheaper end last gen stuff? I'm okay going either way, honestly. I mean, if I have to spend less money, that's great, you know. Um, so an 850-watt one, we bump up to $130. This would probably be the safe bet. Mm. This one would be $10 more than the Corsair, but it's 100 watts more and it's ATX 3.0. Food for thought. Food for thought. Looks like that's what we've got, 750 and 850. Asus Tough 850, 140. Yeah, that's that's a pretty good price, I think. I do. Um, real quick, let's talk about the other case that I was looking at. Actually, I think well, they were on both. It was on Newegg had it and Amazon had it, but it is the Fractal Pop Mini. And then there's the regular Fractal Pop also. So this is another $60 case. Um, that's pretty decent. I'm kind of wondering if the Montec, if the Air 100 ARGB wasn't a uh, kind of a copycat thing of this case. I don't know which one came out first. If I had to guess, well, I'm not going to. This thing, it's kind of neat. I, I don't know why you would, I guess, but if you're a person who still had optical drives, where this door in the front pulls off and you can mount an optical drive down there. I don't know what other kind of practical purposes it might have. Um, yeah, up to 3 HDDs and 6 SSDs without optical bays in use. So I guess you can use that space to put more SSDs or hard drives in. So if I was to use it, I'd probably be like, meh, whatever, because I'm not going to use. I'm definitely not going to use an HDD. I might use an SSD for some backup storage. But this is a case I was looking at instead of that Sky 2. But I really want to build in that Sky 2. I really want to build in that Sky 2. The white one is $89.99. So when you go up to the regular size pops, so they're still under $100, but this is a regular mid tower ATX case. They're kind of cool. They've got these accented colors on the feet and then on the inside, so they're still black on the outside, but they've got these cool color accents to it. Um, and this orange one is on sale for $60. And I kind of dig the orange. I really do. I don't know that I don't know that it'll work. You know, like if it matches everything. Um I guess there isn't really anything to match. Like if everything else is black, then I've just got the orange. I don't know. I kind of like it. It reminds me of like a 2003 Mustang Mach. They had in a competition orange that I really liked. It was kind of a burnt orange like that. So that was an option. And then Amazon had it. I think it was the same price. Fractal. Ah. So these other colors were more expensive than on Newegg, but Okay, no, it's 87.81. I think what I was looking at, it's still close-ish, but this one ships well, I'm not logged in this private browser, but this one shipped free with Prime, so it's 87.81. The other one for 60 ships for like 12 or 30, yeah, $13. So that bumps it up to 73. So it's still cheaper, even paying for the shipping. This is still cheaper on Newegg, but that's a lot of case for 60 to $80. So those are kind of the ones that I'm mainly thinking about: the Fractal Pop Air or the Fractal Pop Mini Air, or my kind of favorite right now is going to be that Montech Sky 2. That Sky 2 is kind of my first choice. I think this actually is my second choice. I think if I went with that, I would still go with the micro ATX board just to save another, $20 or whatever. But $60 case fits into all of those budgets pretty well, I think. So I think, did I go? Yeah. But if we do, so I said, or we could go a tad more premium for future upgradability. So if we do the Fractal Pop Air or the Sky 2 for $100, which really the Fractal Pop is 60, well, 72 with shipping. That Segotep 750 watt fully modular 90, that comes up to 461. But I could pull $20 off of there because I messed up on the pricing of if I get that orange one. So 440. So 440 plus $300 for the GPU, and we're at 740. That's a pretty decent budget-ish build, and it's about $500-$600 cheaper than the other option. But you guys let me know what you want to see, what you think is a good idea. I'm not necessarily going to just do what chat says, but I am curious what kind of content you guys would like to see regarding this AMD build. So yeah, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you want to see, and I'm going to start probably picking this stuff up. Yeah, if you guys can let me know kind of sooner than later, so I can, I think my mind is almost made up, almost, but yeah, I got to start buying stuff in the next couple of days here because I think I'm going to do a stream at the beginning of next week and put it together with everything minus the GPU, and then next week, if the GPU comes out on the 24th like has been rumored, then I'll do a stream going to Micro Center and picking up the GPU, and then we can come home and put it in the already assembled PC. So let me know what you guys think. Give me a like, give me a sub. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.